Good morning and welcome to 419 Day. This is the day each year that we go live just like we're about to. You're going to hear from me, from John, from Justin, from Zach. We're going to talk about new products, things happening in the shop, some things you might expect, and absolutely some things that you want. So for about the next hour, join us. Head to area419.com, check out the Blim sale, get free shipping on your order, but most of all, take our thank you for being our customers and being with us. So it's time to go live. Bryce, let's do it. All right, so we're live. It's 419 Day. Yes, it's on the 18th. With 419 being on a Saturday, I thought the best time to do this is during Friday. Next year we'll have the same issue. But welcome to 419 Day. This was a little different in that we're not really running much of a sale this year. And we'll talk about this throughout the stream. The demand has been really great this year. Our ability to keep up with it and restock has not been as fast as it has been previously. But you'll be able to, we'll throw codes on the screen. We've got free shipping going through the weekend. We've got a Blim sale going. We'll have links to that if you haven't checked it out. But 419 Day is going to be about what's the last year been, and then we're going to talk about some new products. So before we talk new products, John, the last year, we always talk about this at 419 Day. What has the last 12 months been here?
Yeah, it's been, almost year to year, it's kind of the same thing of how do we keep up with demand from... It keeps on growing. So the last year, the big thing was the scope mounts. They've just been blowing up, and we've added 2 more machines to keep up with it. I think we're doing a better job. We're going to change the way we go about some of our processes to try to keep up even better, because we don't expect it to slow down anymore. And then we've got this thing coming online here that is going to present a new challenge of demand on again, but we're much more prepared for it this go around than the first time.
Yeah, we made it way deeper into kind of Black Friday season without running into serious product shortage. But the demand that we continue to see through like Q1 has stayed strong. So instead of running a sale, being out of everything immediately and having that problem continue month after month after month, it's free shipping. We got the Blim shelf had become fairly robust, so we've got a Blim sale running now. But we want to spend this morning talking about new projects, new collaborations, things we're growing around the shop. So in order today, we're going to talk about Zero Gen 2. That's where we're going to start first. We've put out a series of content over the last 2 weeks about the 5 years since we released the Zero. But we'll talk about Zero Gen 2. Justin will hop in. We'll talk about what's been going on and how we've been growing around the shop. Zach will hop in. We'll talk about the task system, which is a new thing that you haven't seen yet. We'll talk about collaboration we've got with Daniel Defense on some new things in the carbine world. But with no further ado, let's introduce Zero Gen 2. Hit it, Bryce. All right, the Zero Gen 2. It's been 5 years since we rolled out the Zero. We've made thousands and thousands of these units, enormous amounts of feedback from customers around the world, good, bad, and indifferent. But when it came to Gen 2, John, what were your priorities?
We'll start off, we had never designed a reloading press before, and not to toot our own horn, but I think we did a pretty good job first go around at it. Not a whole lot of negative feedback out there on it. Everybody seems to love it. Love that it's a buy once, cry once type of thing. All the negative feedback we got on our first launch was just the price. But people really came to understand what it takes to build something like this. And once they got it in their hands, they didn't really feel like it was overpriced. There were some things we did early on that we thought was the best way to do it in the press, specifically talking about cam over that we've just adjusted finally from the original, based on some feedback to give users more options on how to use the press. But yeah, I mean, you see this thing sitting here and you're probably wondering, well, it looks exactly the same. What's the Gen 2 about it? And it's really not all that different. The body and the linkage have only mildly changed. Most of it is inside the press where you guys will never see. You'll definitely feel a little bit of a difference on the stroke. We're not talking leaps and bounds because it was already pretty excellent to begin with. It's just a more robust system now. To dive into it a little bit at each one of these linkage points on here, we were originally running these 1/2-inch diameter shoulder bolts, one from each side of the linkage. So these would have been in what you'd consider single shear, in that this arm is basically trying to bend this bolt and rip it out of the body of the press.
There had been no problems.
Yeah,
with
no
this.
failures.
You know, the entire Generation 2 move here wasn't based on failures or things that were wrong. If you've got a Generation 1 Zero, you've still got one of the finest pieces of equipment ever made for a reloading bench. This is simply, just as we have with so many products over time, where's that next 1% or 2%? Where's that next layer of robustness and rigidity and fail-safe that maybe nobody needs, but that's okay. That's not going to stop us.
Yeah, exactly. So we've changed this up to a solid pin that goes all the way through the body of the press and the linkage down here. So now this is basically a double shear. We've got 2 bushings that this rides on, solid bushings. Again, this is going to sound like I'm knocking on the Gen 1, but we went from ball roller bearings, which worked excellent. We were able to find some pretty specialized shafts and bushings that maybe we didn't even know about early on in the design that give us the same feel, lack of slop, all those things, while making it just far more rigid. And then this leads into the second part. This allows us to take the linkage here to a full cam over point without the potential for, because when you get to this ram coming up and stopping, on some presses you can actually watch the ram come up and come back down as you finish the stroke. That point where it stops is where the cam over begins, because you have basically an infinite amount of leverage on the system, and that puts a lot of stress on everything in the press when you get to that point. So on the Gen 1, we stopped a few thousandths before that ram would ever stop. We stopped it on purpose. Now we get to that full point where it comes up, and it might only come down another thou before we stop it again with the hard stops on the side of the linkage here.
One of the things John mentioned here that I think is important for you guys to know, when we were designing the Generation 1 of the Zero, getting some of these specialty industrial component manufacturers to have a conversation with us was all but impossible. So like with these shafts and these sleeve style bushings, originally we were trying to quote out a couple hundred of something at a time. Now we're an order of magnitude larger than that. We're looking for thousands of them at a time, and instead of them asking us, can you buy more, we're sometimes asking these industrial suppliers, can you make more?
Yeah.
So that shift has given us a lot of ability to reach into certain design components of the press and push it additionally far. And in a different video I shot that we'll release on this thing later today or over the week, we're looking for how do we add as much robustness as possible? How do we continue to seek the smoothest ram travel possible? How do we add little creature comforts? And then number 4, how do we make sure everything you've bought, all your accessories or components to go with your Zero, still work? Because Gen 1 to Gen 2 is not a retrofittable thing. It's not something where you can send in your press and have it updated. That cannot happen. But all of your other parts and components will still be usable in Gen 2 compared to Gen 1.
Yeah, the turret has not changed. So even if you make the upgrade and you want to keep all your turrets, everything stayed the same. We didn't change a single thing about the turret. I mean, the handle hasn't changed. Any of the accessories that go back here on the Arca rail, those stay the same. Nothing's changed back there. So
really marginal change to price. Retail on this one is going to be $1,400, so a small change, but not a huge one. You know, the added feature of cam over in Gen 1, and we still believe this is the best way to reload. It was designed around the idea that the top of your shell holder and the bottom of your die would make contact in a sizing or a seating operation. We still think that's the best way to go about it. But not everybody thinks that same way. And as much as we want to think we're right about things, we also understand that, you know, customers need to have the ability to do the things they want to do. So the idea of being able to find that cam over and stop and float the shell holder off the bottom of a die is something that we didn't love the concept of with a Gen 1, but Gen 2, part of what's updated is around that rigidity at a floating point. So that's a big deal there.
Yeah, one other minor thing we added came from kind of reviews on this. We've added this one doesn't have it. But there's a detent now on the primer tray. It has a little bit of adjustment in the back if it's not perfectly to your liking. So that way, I think some people were getting some vibrations on their press causing the primer tray to walk out, and then maybe some primers don't make it in the tray. So we added a detent to the primer tray. That's pretty handy.
You got the tool holder on the side.
Yep. Yeah, your wrench for the turret can store right in the side of the press here.
We took out the trash chute, and that had happened at late in Gen 1, but some little inside the press things that 95 or 98% of you would never have any interaction with. You know, there were some little ways that we thought we were mitigating problems or thought we were solving something ahead of time that maybe we weren't. We've been honest with ourselves about that change. We added late in Gen 1, but many of you don't know this. There's a hole that runs up the entire length of the back. So if you take your turret off and somehow get your ball bearing into the drill bushing that does all your indexing in your turret, if you get it under the spring, in original presses, never coming out. The thing was cooked. But now you can reach through there with a cleaning rod and knock that back up. So some little changes there. And then some minor aesthetics, because we thought, you know, we could add some things to the surfacing and the machining we thought were really cool. You can see it here, and you know, we'll have various close-ups. Just some cool surfacing, some aesthetic lines.
Almost fluting up the front of the press. You'll see it a lot better in the product images.
We added just a bit of thickness to the arms. Again, it's a small place that we could add an additional bit of rigidity. Not that we think the arms were flexing, but why not? And we also think it added to the cool, you know, thickness aesthetic of the press. So yeah, guys, that's Zero Gen 2. They're available right now on the website in limited quantities. Shields has some, Brownells has some. The hundreds of dealers we have globally have all been allowed at this point to start to place orders, so we're making them heavily. You can get them right now. The Zero Gen 2 is going. And I think that it's also part of, in 2025, the idea that S-Series dies have not been super available. They're going to continue to be more available. We've made continued investment into that. Certain things like the Headspace and Ogive kits that go with the Zero, the demand on those was significantly greater than we expected. So start looking for more availability on those. But guys, the Zero's been a crazy product for us, and 5 years and thousands of presses in and millions of dollars in investment and upgrades out on the floor have led to what we continue to believe is the finest press anywhere on earth. And we thought it was, you know, we had enough to work with here that we thought a Gen 2 was appropriate. And whether we come back in 1 year or 5 years or 15 years for any kind of additional changes, you can know that when it's ready and when it's time, we're not going to sit back. We're not going to say, it's good enough. We have no appetite for that. So we'll continue to make the best products we can and get them to you in market.
And we really don't expect there to be any issues with demand on this unless all of you decide to upgrade to Gen 2.
It'd be a great idea, guys.
Then we might. But we're really good at making these things now, so we don't expect to be on back order for 2 years again like the first time. So, but don't want to discourage you from all upgrading. We'd love that.
And we know you're going to have lots of questions about this. By all means, drop them into the live stream, drop them into the chat. We'll come back later in the stream and work through some questions, see if there are some common things we can get into. But John, you've got people waiting on you to leave town. You've got to get out of here.
Jump on a plane.
Yeah, he's got to get on a plane. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a second. We're going to reset real quick, and I will be back right here with Justin to talk about what's going on outside in the shop really quickly.
Thanks, guys.
My name is Masahiko Mori. I'm Japanese, and I'm a group CEO of the DMG Mori corporations. This company, Area 419, is quite visible in the past 5-6 years as our customer list. You are always buying the latest machines and also fully utilize our concept of machining transformations. So I am quite curious and want to see your unique production and unique products.
Back. That bit that we just showed you might have been fairly confusing to you, but last week we had a really cool visitor in the shop. Dr. Mori, the third generation president and CEO of Mori, be it Moriseki or now DMG Mori. He came and visited Area 419, and when we got asked this question, I don't know, when did Lee ask us if he could bring...
It was about 3 weeks before he arrived, but so...
It was kind of a, sure moment.
Yeah, and we give a lot of tours on site, so, but to have Dr. Mori come here excited everybody in the shop, especially the operators and the programmers. The guys on the floor were excited to meet him.
Lee, our sales guy with DMG Mori, he's been really great to us for years, but he said he's been selling DMG Mori machine tools for 22 years, and this is the first time that Dr. Mori or any of the Mori family has come to one of his sites. So that was very cool for us. It was a great opportunity to show him what we're doing, look through how some of our machines are being used. We are a bit of an anomaly with some of these machines that we are buying hyper-capable machines and then putting them into complex production. And we didn't really understand that this wasn't common until we get one of the mill turns, one of the NTXs going, and we're using the upper multi-axis mill head and the lower turret all simultaneously and bar feeding and doing everything the machine's capable of. And they say, hey, you're one of the only people in the country that's actually doing all of this. So we were encountering new problems. And, you know, Dr. Mori showed up.
Because not only Dr. Mori showed up, he also showed up with 10 other employees, including 4 engineers, I believe. So it wasn't our typical shop tour where we just walk people around, show them the machines. These guys were out digging in deep to the machines, seeing how they were operating in practical uses. And they were making notes. They were asking our operators questions. They were asking our programmers questions. It was a in-depth conversation of how they can improve their machines in the practical setting that we're in.
In really kind of nuanced things, like he was checking out in different machines if coolant was in a tool magazine, maybe where it shouldn't have been. And he was talking about chip management and chip flow and wanting to see how we were processing parts. I think Dr. Mori and Marcus runs our lathe department. You've probably seen him. He's the red-headed Mexican guy that has a mullet and likes Busch lattes.
Yeah.
He and Dr. Mori having a deep, in-depth conversation about here's how we use this tool and here's some things I like and don't like. That was wild to us, and it was special. So we wanted to share that with you. You'll see more content about Dr. Mori's visit to us, and if you don't care about that content, we don't care. It was really special for us, so we enjoyed it. But Zero Gen 2, task that we'll talk about, scope mounts, rings. Justin, they've made your life different in the last year.
Yeah, to say the least. I don't know if anybody's seen the 3-part series of the marketing team did for the Zeros. Fabulous series. Definitely recommend you to check those out, where we dive into how we walk through the process of bringing the Gen 1 Zero online. But I would definitely say the new scope mounting system, the rings, has definitely pushed us even further. And it's been exciting. We've, like John mentioned earlier, we've added 2 machines. We've definitely dove deeper into how we're machining parts, see if we can, carve seconds turn into minutes turns into hours, minutes turn into days. So we've even implemented a new CAM software. Learning that has been difficulty, but it's a jump, and we're carving some time out of our processes. And the shop's growing. I mean, we've added more employees out on the production floor to help with the, Craig, you're doing a great job of selling everything.
You guys are doing a great job of buying.
Thank you to our customers.
Yeah.
It's been unbelievable to keep, we keep ramping up and saying our demand is X and thinking that, okay, we've got them this time, our production side, we got sales this time. And then our great customers come out and just buy everything up, and so it's been fun. It's been challenging. Everyone in the shop has a good buzz about making new products. We run one shift here. We don't demand 2 or 3 shifts or that much overtime, but with the automation, everybody's excited about the machines running overnight, and they're even now, we've got some people coming in on Saturdays and Sundays just to make some quick swaps of, maybe the carts on the Metalcraft system. We've got 2 backup units, so we can slide those out and add 2 new in, so the machine continues to run for another 16 hours or whatever. So that has been exciting, just the automation, getting everything tuned up to run overnight and try to get the production.
So we've got 18 CNC machines on the floor, 16 of which are part of our day-to-day production. And of those 16, 14 of them are fully automated. So as we grow as an organization, we've got 38 people now.
38, 40, yeah.
Ugh, man, that's growing quickly. We know that every time that we need to make a leap in production, we're to the point that it's not just buy another machine. It is buy another machine, but it's also look at every single thing that we're doing in the shop and think, how can we make this 2%, 5% better? Can we move apart from one machine that is at 150%, backloaded capacity, to something that's only at 85 or 90%, and we can, get some free hours? How can we keep squeezing and wringing the towel to find a little bit more? So we added a new small envelope. Talk about the DMP, Justin, as well as we've got the Swiss machines running hard. It's silly how many I think in the intro it's like 160 some thousand
M4 screws,
and those are the ones that, like in a scope cap, hold the scope caps down, and we use them for a couple other things, but really mostly that. Both Swisses are running hot. We've got a second NTX. Somebody asked a question about 25 GT M series dies, 25 cal dies, be it Creedmoor or GT. Those are coming. I think there might be another. Nathan, is there another 25 that we're doing? 25 by 47. Yep. So like 25 cal dies, 338. So like 338 Lapua, all that kind of stuff is coming through. But that's increased production. Talk about the DMP.
The DMP was a move that we made. Everybody knows we have the 2 Grobe 5th axis machines with robotics with the Metalcraft Langvise setup on it. Great for it exchanges the work holdings in and out of the machine. It's great for large parts, but we found that we started running more and more small, intricate parts on that machine, and you could DMG offered us an opportunity where there's a work holding robot right next to the machine, and it can just, instead of changing out work holdings, it can load pieces. So now we can load 315 pieces in a tray system, and that machine, the one program right now that's running for the dual clamp Arcalock, we're running the bases for those. That's a 55-hour runtime without having to touch the machine. So you talk about lights out. that's what we're going for there.
Yeah, and 55 hours is a cool number because that's basically the amount of time from Friday at 5 p.m. to Monday at 8 a.m. Maybe you have an hour or so of it waiting on you, and realistically, people are often here in the saddle working well before 7 a.m. So
Yeah.
we can basically run all the way through the weekend on that machine with some of our higher demand, more complex parts. And we like that machine enough that, our next two are probably another horizontal and probably another 5-axis.
For sure, because it does just, when it's just doing piece holding, we're just doing the first op. So we now create more of a demand on our horizontal. So, that's possibly why Dr. Mori was here too, when you start
Right.
talking about another horizontal.
He's here to sell.
A third horizontal on the machine, or in the shop. So yeah, we're constantly pushing that envelope of what's coming next, and trust us, it's I get upset as much as anybody when we're out of stock on something. So we are definitely reinvesting heavily in the company, pushing for more machines. We've added more employees. I want to give a shout out to our assembly team as well. We've added multiple people into that, and shout out to our engineering team who spends a lot of time in assembly, looking at their processes and how we can improve that and cut some time down, some pinch points, some products that they may not like assembling as much, or packaging. Packaging is a factor too. How can we come up with different packaging solutions that can then speed up our assembly
Yeah,
team as well?
we showed at the beginning like 13,000 square feet of rack space have been added. Significant majority of that is about packaging, as an organization that goes all the way from, hey, I've got an idea, to this is done and ready, and ship it to somebody's mailbox, put it in the box. The amount of unsexy cardboard and foam in the back is unbelievable. And to Justin's point about assembly and about engineering, you're going to see 4 of us in front of you on the live stream today, but we are a tiny fraction of what it takes to make all this happen at Area 419. And it's so easy to miss that, but as we grow, we refuse to miss that. And that, again, our assembly team in the back, we got 12 people ish rolling around assembly at any given time. We've got just the production team, the operations team, content, customer service, obviously the production team. What do we have? 8-ish people on the floor at any given time. All the way from Frank and IT to Val and accounting. It is a huge team effort, and we'll talk significantly more about this later, but you're supporting, when you buy an Area 419 product, an American small business, Americans that show up to work every single day. Yes, we show up to work. We are not, we're not some remote, yuppie coastal organization, and we are deeply tariff proof. And we'll get back into that later. But you're supporting people here, and that's something that we appreciate you guys doing and hope that is happening as well. Before we jump to the next segment, we're going to rattle through a couple questions from the chat. One is, what is the price point of Zero Gen 2? It's going to be $1,400. As far as stock, the Gen 2 is in stock today. You can buy it right now. Yes, I understand that the website's a little bit slow right now. I was looking at, during that Dr. Mori segment, what site traffic looks like. We're seeing Black Friday volumes on the site. It's pretty significant. So if it's slow right now, that's okay. Hang out a little bit. As far as the BLIMs go, we will update what we have in stock and available for BLIMs throughout the day. So there's not some massive advantage just sitting there and hitting refresh and making everything be a nightmare. Let's see, did we change the RAM angle? No. And if you have something that seems to be out of parallel, please let us know. Something's not right. Is there on-press priming? No. Have we considered building a progressive press? Considered, yes. Have any plan or desire to do? No. This is a great one. Any limited edition Gen 2 presses? Let's go ahead and get the first round of Gen 2s out, and when it's time for limited edition, we'll have conversations about that as Justin becomes a little more red and high blood pressure.
We have started looking at colors.
Oh, God.
So I'll release it. I'll say it. We have started looking at some colors for special releases. We're working with one of our suppliers, our anodizer suppliers. They gave us some interesting colors. And if this just creates hype and some chat, I think that's a good thing. But yeah, Maddie, my right hand, is probably listening to this thinking, oh Lord, I can't believe you mentioned this right now.
She went and poured another mimosa in the
Yeah,
back.
exactly.
So this is a really great one, though, for Justin. What software do you guys use for shop management, CAM, and solid modeling? Shop management's huge.
Yeah, so shop management, we are using a system called Fulcrum. It connects well to QuickBooks as well as our ShipStation. So what we have there is, when orders come in, it pulls demand. It creates a demand for inventory. So we on the production side, Maddie schedules our production team and the assembly. I manage purchasing and order of operations on the shop floor. But we work together with our entire production team to come up with what our needs are there, and the software can't be replaced. I mean, we absolutely depend on it. CAM, we're using MasterCam in our lathe department, and then we've just jumped into Hypermill on our mill department for horizontal, specifically fifth axis work.
We have. It's a lot of unique SKUs.
Oh, I mean,
Several
we
hundred.
make 1,800 parts for our SKUs.
Yeah, and that's what I was getting. So we've got, let's call it 300 SKUs. Each of those SKUs is comprised of multiple parts, many items, share parts. So like the caps on a 34 millimeter set of match rings are the same caps in all of the heights. That cap is also used as the rear cap on the one-piece mounts that are available in multiple heights. So you might have 15 SKUs all pulling from that same 34 millimeter smooth topped cap. And that's screws, that's caps. When you get into ARCA parts, it's hardware. So the shared pools of inventory and parts across all of these different SKUs or items that are ready for you guys to buy at area419.com, keeping that solid and not thinking, oh crap, we've run out of one single part, and that's then going to limit us on 100 different SKUs. Hellfire adapters, right? A 5/8 Hellfire adapter goes in a ton of different
The
products.
match, the original.
Yeah, the 2P, the LFS, we sell them independently. You get one with a Maverick. So there's lots going on there. So when you want to start looking at the really crazy complex part of this operation, what Justin and his team do in operations and making sure we have it are crazy. S-Series dies for 6.5 Creedmoor should be very soon.
Yeah, so we had those.
Yeah.
We made 100 of them up, and our assembly team took a look at them when they came back from coating and deburring, and it didn't meet her qualifications. Our engineering team took a look at it, and it would have left some marks on people's brass, and we've gotten some feedback on that. Not a fan of that. So basically, those went in the recycle bin. So we are actively working on getting a new batch out there.
I think that's good to note too, because we're selling blims today. 97.5% of people who buy a blim today
You're
are going
not
to have
gonna
no
notice.
idea
Yeah.
what the blim is. We get emails after blim sales and say, hey, I'm just curious, what's wrong with this product? And it may be a tiny fleck or a smudge in the anodize or some little thing that you're probably never going to notice. What's going on with the 6.5 Creedmoor dies that got dumped? We could have probably sold them, and 85% of them
Would've been
would have
fine.
never been
Yep.
noticed.
Yep.
But we're not going to do it that way. We work really hard to make sure that you come to us. We're asking you to spend hard-earned dollars on really well-made parts, and they're going to be really well made. Sure, once in a while something might get out that's not great. That happens. Anything made by man has the opportunity to be imperfect, but we do everything we can to mitigate it. So, Justin, let's break. I'm going to get Zach in. We're going to talk about the task right here. And then after Zach and I talk about the task, Justin's going to come back. We're going to talk a little bit more about some other things we've got going on, wrap up, and keep it moving here on 419 Day. That animation was so stinking cool, Bryce. All right, so the task. This is a new product from Area 419. Task stands for Tactical Application Site Kit. This is a red dot riser system with a level of attachment and modularity and rigidity that we don't think exists anywhere else. Other people are making products in the same product family. nobody's gone about it this way. The center of this is a patent pending approach to, let's see, grab some parts here. The way that we are attaching a red dot riser to a diving board. Let's see, where's he? Okay, he's driving. So you've got a red dot riser here. We've got 10 varieties of this that either exist or are in production. The one that's in my hand is the 2.25 inch height Aimpoint Micro style, and you can put a dot on top of this, as you see, and then you have the opportunity to attach longer or shorter front back diving boards. We've got the match mounting point that's on the side of 9 of these variations. The low EOTech or Picatinny riser style does not have one because there's just no space for it. But you've got the opportunity here to take your riser, you can pick your height. This will be available. It's available now in 2.25 inch and will also be available. I think I've got a, let's see, do I have one of those here? That's not the right one. That's not the right one. Anyway, we've got, this is what, and this is just a 3D print so I can have something to show you of the 2.9 inch height that this would also be available in. So you can pick your height, you can pick what your boards want to be. This is our standard long diving board. We also have an offset diving board, which lifts that thing up a little bit in case you need to get like a thumb underneath for a switch. Guys, I would love to be showing you these on a rifle, but obviously, if we bust a rifle out in a live stream, it gets instantly nuked. So we're gonna not do that. You'll see a lot of content about the task in the next couple of weeks. Those will all be things that we post. We just can't show you anything on a firearm in a live stream. And that's basically the task system. With this patent pending attachment, it is an oblong taper system, which not only helps us get a really solid lockup from part to part, but also helps manage directionality, so that the top of your board is flat and connected. Zach, you spent obviously a huge amount of time on this one. Bryce is getting us some great product looks here. Oh, another cool thing with the match mounting point on the side, you can take the offset like 45. So this one's set up. We can put this on a 300 blackout, center the top for supers, or zero the top for supers, zero the side for subs, and you can go from shooting supers with a flip up magnifier to shooting subs, retaining your zero, and simply being a mag change away from those types of things. We've got a cool test that we're going to show you later today, post over the weekend, maybe on Monday, of putting a laser on a task system, as well as a laser on a handguard of a carbine, putting it in a vise and putting just a little bit of pressure on the back, and you'll watch, the task laser obviously stay zeroed, as it should, on where the optical crosshair is, and then the laser that's out on the forend walk mils at a time over just a small amount of pressure. But Zach, task from your perspective, why does it exist? Who needs it? What are your favorite parts about what we've got here?
Yeah, so the thought process with the task system was kind of a evolution from the one-piece mount system. So one thing we really looked at with the one pieces is how do we integrate lasers, rangefinders, something that's a little bit more mission specific, not to your normal PRS shooter, your team match shooter, your guy that's doing this professionally, his life depends on it. So the next evolution was kind of red dots. So like you had mentioned earlier, there's a lot of people in this world that are doing an integrated system for lasers, and it's how do we take that the step further? A lot of people get stuck in one height. So how do we build this modularity into it so we can adapt different heights, but keeping all the same creature comforts? So as different theaters of war, just being blunt, evolve, lasers aren't always the thing that's going to be attached to it. Thermals, night vision, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we've got a thermal floating around here. It's the new EOTech clip-on style. Eric picked one up. We've had that hooked onto these things, and the height here from basically dot to board is that inch 53 height that likes to be used in the clip-on world. We've done that. It's super cool. It's something that you'll see in content. The number of ways that people use carbines and kit them out is seemingly infinite. With the number of parts that we have here, you can put this thing together about 5,500 ways right now, and every time we add a part to this, that number only grows. We've got, flip to center style magnifier mounts that are in process and design, various different front boards. If you have a certain like a PEC or whatever that wants to kick off to the side so you can stay low, get a thumb under it. We've got all sorts of different. Let me get my whole pile of parts out here. This is a cool one. So this is a Steiner MPS that's on this one, but it's an Aimpoint Acro mount. We can even do things with the system like we shrank this front to back. So we've got an Aimpoint Micro, which is a fair amount longer because those tend to be larger products, and we were able to make the thing more compact. You know, we got feedback right away from different units that are using PCCs or smaller footprint weapons. Said, hey, you know, we're using an Acro or something of that size, even an RMR is the main sight for this firearm. Can we make sure that whatever we're using as a red dot mount is appropriately sized? So yeah, basically all of it.
Yeah. So one of my major focuses and that I wanted to address is how do we keep the system similar from every model, whether you're running an Acro, an RMR, a Micro. So let's keep the centerline heights the same, let's keep the footprint the same, and let's keep that relationship from where your laser or your thermal to the centerline of your optic the same. So then, you know, you take your Voodoo thermal, you slap it in front of your Micro, you slap it in front of your Acro, you slap it in front of your EOTech, and it's gonna be the same. That system's gonna work. And then let's bring in the modularity and some of the accessories from the one piece or the match mounting system over to it too. So we're building one part that works on all your platforms.
Yeah, and we got a question in the chat about another company that makes a product with some similarity to this. There's nothing you can buy today that is as rigid in the way that connects, as diverse in the way that that you can configure it with as many parts, as much variety, as well as availability. Justin was just sitting here. Justin will be sitting here again. We continue to invest enormously into making sure that not only are we designing and bringing to market the best, most differentiated products possible, but that they are going to exist and that they're going to be purchasable and going to be out into the market. When you compare this to any other product of its sort, period, nothing is as modular or as rigid or as diverse or as available. Pick any one or two of those and you're going to get, you know, you start to be totally differentiated with tasks, much less 3 or 4 of them. So we think this is a system that will grow quickly for us. We think that there is a demand for this in the carbine world that's fairly strong, and we're going to do our best to fill it. They're very, very price competitive. The low Picatinny riser style, and this is the tall one. We've got low ones that'll be in the content. I think those are mostly on rifles right now. Low Picatinny riser starts at 210. Diving boards are 65 for the short, 75 for the long, and 85 for the offset. All of the more complex riser styles are 225. So you're going to be able to put this together at a competitive and similar price point, if not even a little bit less than some of the other products with similarities on the market. And again, we think you'll like it. You'll see a lot more from us on this one. The next handful of days are very heavily going to be about Zero Gen 2. And then as we get into, you know, later in April or into May, you're going to see a significant amount more conversation around the task system. But I think you'll see quite a bit floating around on the internet today. This is a product that's garnered some excitement very quickly. Zach, anything else to add on the task?
No, I mean, it's just an ever-evolving system. So there will be modularity to it. There will be additional SKUs that pop up as, you know, demand changes, industry changes, how these are being used changes. It's an ever-evolving system, but I think we have a really good grasp on a good starting point that's going to cover a lot of bases for a lot of different people.
Do you have that ready to play, Bryce? Yeah. All right. So we talked about does it show me in full? All right, if there's no rifle in it, this is something we filmed this week. Bryce, just hit it. Let them see it. Hey guys, we just released a task, and I wanted to take a second to demonstrate and show you why it matters. What we did is we put together an AR from around the shop, pretty sure the upper and lower from a company that's no longer making ARs, a handguard that is a common, pinch around a barrel nut style. We tested this on really expensive rifles, on really inexpensive rifles, and the result is really fairly constant no matter how much you spend on your firearm. So we've got a magnified optic with a trigger cam on it so you can see what's happening. On the task system, we've got a green laser
And on the handguard, we've got a red laser so that you can see the difference in the two, and they're co-witnessed basically to the aiming point on the optic. Now, as I put just a little bit of stress on the buttstock here, you're going to watch those lasers walk away from one another. This illustrates the idea that if you want your aiming laser, be it visible or IR, or whatever you've got in front of your optic, to actually stay true to that optic, getting it off the handguard is of enormous importance. So I'm going to put just a little bit of pressure back and forth here, and look on the reticle in mils how much this thing's moving, up and down and side to side. And again, this is not much pressure. If you would have this rifle on a bipod, if you had it with a good vertical grip and you're cranking on it, you're going to see a lot of this move around. And guys, we're not talking a little bit. We're talking mils and mils at a time with just a little bit of pressure. So if you've got a laser on your system and you want it to actually stay true to your sighting system, check out a task. You hate the test? Let us know about that too.
Yeah, so that's an excellent way to look at what the difference is between taking an aiming laser, be it visible, be it IR, or anything you're going to attach to that handguard that needs to stay precisely aligned to an optic. There's quite a bit of difference that you can get when you start putting pressure on the end of an AR handguard. And that's not to knock any handguard manufacturer, any carbine manufacturer. That's just the nature of that really long, relatively light tube that is attached in the best they can do it, but maybe less than ideal, and certainly not single part way. So check those out. They're awesome. We're a fan of them. And if you've got a specific use case that you don't think is covered by the items that we're making available, let us know. We'd like to make them. We're interested in continuing to grow the line and allowing more people to use the task the way that they require it. So, Zach, got anything else? And then we'll keep moving.
The only other thing that was a big note was cable management with this system. Nothing's more frustrating than having a 2-foot cable and you only need 6 inches of it.
Yeah, Sarah, can you drop the cable management plugs into the chat? So if you're watching the chat, we've got little plastic cable managers that they drop into these match points on the side. You don't need to swap over to it, and they'll be available. You can see how those work on the website. It's a nice to have item.
Also, there's cable management built into the diving board system, so you can uproot your cable for your pack or your whatever laser you're running up through the bottom.
Can you see it running through there? Maybe not. It's kind of dark for that. Oh yeah, kind of right there.
Yeah. So that was just creature comforts that we wanted to take account for. There's more that some people will never know about, but I know about them. Everybody here knows about them.
Yeah.
So it makes me happy knowing that somebody out there will get to use that and be like, oh, that was really cool.
Yeah. All right, guys. So that's the task. Again, you got questions for them about it, throw it in the chat. We'll answer everything we can here. And if we can't answer it during the live, we'll obviously make sure that our content over the next couple of weeks answers your questions. So, Zach, thanks for joining us. We've got a short bit, and then Justin's going to be back on. All right, so we're back. We've got a Q&A with things that have come from the chat in the last little bit that we want to get into. But before that, hot topic, not to get political, tariffs are a big deal right now. And you're seeing firearm companies and lots of retail companies make statements everywhere about, hey, we've got this issue because of a tariff. And I know that we've been saying we're made in America and we're made in the USA, but maybe that doesn't exactly mean that. So, okay, a little bit of background. If something says it's made in America, it has to be significantly or largely made, assembled, produced in America. The Federal Trade Commission, the FTC, is in charge of this. It's not a heavily policed thing. It's a relatively vague thing. So what you'll often find is manufacturers saying, yeah, we're gonna fudge that a little, and let's put that American flag on the side of the product and maybe not worry about it. Justin, talk about the changes that we're having to make for tariffs.
None.
Got them.
Yeah.
all of our material is American sourced. It's from American mills. We go to extreme lengths to make this happen. We don't have, the best we can tell, a dime of even internal price increases coming out of these tariffs. Now, over time, we might see a little bit of price increase on some materials, not because our stuff is coming from overseas, but because when
people start transitioning to buying from mills, which
Correct.
creates a demand and supply issue. That we saw that during COVID. It happened, but thankfully, we've built a great reputation with all of our suppliers. We don't jump around from suppliers to suppliers. I can honestly say that, as far as the raw manufacturer of our products, there's probably 10 suppliers that we have great relationships with, buy the bulk of our products from. So they know that we're loyal to them, and they've treated us well and kept us in stock for the most part on everything. So,
all the way to boxes. I mean, the idea, our box vendor is from Toledo. We've got let's see, where do you go here? An injection molded product that we'll talk about a little bit with the next thing. We're doing that in Toledo as well.
Right.
So the idea that we're buying our material in the U.S. and our boxes could easily be coming from anywhere in the world. They're coming from right up the street. They cost us more, but that's okay. We've always been okay with that. We know that is our brand promise, and you're seeing other companies that have been slapping American flags on things for years that are suddenly having massive problems with tariff sourcing.
And I think it's some reason, I think the real shady part of it is I feel like some companies are using it as an opportunity to boost their profits, or as a marketing ploy, something to talk about with tariff. Thankfully for us, we've got enough going on where we don't need a marketing ploy to talk about things. So, but I've been getting emails from tool companies saying, well, yes, the tools are made in the USA, but the carbide may come from Germany. And so we're going to have to implement a price change. And I can understand that as far as raw goods go, but there needs to be some pushback on that too. Like, the distributors need to say, hey, we're not going to use this as, those letters are coming from no offense, Craig, but the VP of marketing. And it's almost like they're trying to push us to stock up on tools that we not necessarily wouldn't need because of these tactics that are being used in the tariff game today. And I honestly believe that some of them are, they're playing chess and the rest of us are over here playing checkers. So just let that sort itself out.
Yeah, and I, be honest with you guys, I love any opportunity to get somebody excited about buying something right now, if we can possibly do it. But yeah, I think that what's happening with trade on a global scale is crazy. B&T, Atlas Bipods, they're somebody we work a lot with and move a lot of their product and really respect them. And Casey and Darren and everybody that we have interaction with there, they put out a post yesterday around, look, we don't have any tariff price increases because we make it all in America. And they work really diligently. They fight Chinese knockoffs badly. They've got a project, and it's Adam or Aaron. They've got some internal project around getting rid of Chinese knockoffs, and they've got to be grinning as they do it now because that Chinese knockoff of theirs suddenly just multiplied in price, and a good quality American Atlas bipod is stable as ever. So that's our conversation about what's happening, globally with tariffs, on if it has any impact on us. And no, it doesn't. But as you see people start cranking up prices because of tariffs or having some issue around it, look really hard, or that Made in America on the side of the box. Is it real or is it not? So on to Q&A. Let's see here. 2 for Justin. 1, what kind of CNC machines do you guys use?
So we still have 2 Haas machines. One of the questions was, are there Haas machines? There are still 2 Haas machines in the building. We use the UMC 500 for a lot of second ops, and we do manage some first op stuff on it, but it's the lower volume products, and then we also have them in our gunsmithing department as well.
2 there, so 3 Haas.
So 3 Haas.
TL2, VF4SS, and UMC 500 SS. Yep. But those are probably the lowest volume machines in the building.
Yeah. And then we're DMG heavy in the lathe department. All of our lathes are DMG. We do have 2 Swiss units, and those are Star units. And then our mill department is comprised of mostly DMG and Grobes as well.
So that's 3 Haas, 2 Grobe, 2 Star, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 DMG Mori.
Yep.
quick math. So that's what we're using there. Do we have an apprentice program?
So we do in the engineering side of things. We had apprentice last summer that co-opted with us, and then surprise to some people here in the room, but yes, we also have another engineering co-op start with us this summer as well. Starts May 5th, comes out of University of Toledo. So he's starting May 5th. But yeah, so we do. And we do have a current open for anybody that has experience programming with Hypermill. We are still looking for a Hypermill programmer as well.
And across the board, if you consider yourself capable and interested and understand the idea that Northwest Ohio does have a housing market complete with apartments and homes for sale, send us an email, send us a resume. What are we going to do? Tell you no? You don't work here yet anyway. So jobs at area419.com. If you think you could do something here really well, if you would be interested in joining a team, we're always building a bank of resumes. And whether what you're good at is something that we're hiring today or not, we'd love to have you. We'd love to get to know you. So jobs at area419.com is good on that.
Yeah, much like our machines that we're always looking at, we may be buying machines ahead of time. We've done that with employees too. Our best employees come from word of mouth, or people that reach out to us directly and say, hey, I really want to look at an opportunity to come work for Area 419. Those are the employees that, turnover rate is extremely low on, versus us seeking something out through Indeed or one of the big job posting companies. Yeah, so we're always taking resumes, like Craig said, at jobs at Area 419. We keep those, and we'll reach back out.
All right, we've got a few questions left, but before we get to those, I've waited until the very end to bust this out in case somehow Google AI says that this is a firearm. Something we're excited to announce today, and you'll see more about this next week at NRA. This is a Daniel Defense RIS-3 handguard with Arcalock in the bottom. This is something that they're actively rolling out, working on production of for the commercial market. It's something that's been in use for them in the military law enforcement market for a period of time, and something that we're excited about. Daniel Defense is, at least among, and in our opinion, the premier high-end, you need something to stake your life on carbine company, not just in America, but in the entire world. We've got an enormous amount of respect for them and have had a partnership with them for
5 years,
6 years, years and years now at this time.
Yeah.
And when they said, hey, we're thinking about finally putting Arcalock on a carbine, we said, boys, anything we can do. They've got a couple different lengths, couple different versions. We're not going to totally get out in front of them on what those products look like, but look at the stuff that they start releasing during NRA, which is next weekend in Atlanta. But this is a RIS-3 with Arcalock in the bottom, and we think it's a super cool option if you're in the predator community, you're in the hunting community, you want to shoot something with precision, you're a person that in the military law enforcement world puts your firearm on a tripod for a long period of time. You want the extra versatility of Arcalock. This is it. It's happening quickly, and along with this, we have, and they are in stock right now, the Arcalock hand covers. The only complaint we really get about Arcalock is, my lady hands don't like grabbing the serrations over time. Yeah. Sure, fine. This is the 4-inch version that has a little bit of softer rubber there for grab. You put it on something, it holds well. And then this is a 2-inch version if you just want some extra length, who can't use an extra 2 inches. You've got good grab here. They nest and they're stackable, so that if you want to add length, it's all seamless and interconnected. You got finger grooves in the side. So this is something we've been asked for. They're available now. They're relatively inexpensive. And again, we could have probably made them cheaper, but they are injection molded in Toledo, Ohio, by good friends of ours at Basilius. Being American made is something that we're all the way on through and through. So those are available now. I think it's, you get the 2-pack for, it's $30. And they are absolutely solid. They've got little nubs built into the inside that actually interface with the Arcalock, so they don't go anywhere front and back. Those are available. That handguard is something that's being released heavily this next weekend and will be commercially available very soon from Daniel Defense. Check that out. Q&A. So we're just gonna power through them here. Thoughts on other reloading tools, powder handling, I'm assuming, and priming, maybe. So we've made everything, and we'll continue to make everything that we think we can make well, that is an improvement on what exists in the market, that we can also keep in stock in reloading and rifle parts, period. And I'll probably repeat that again as we go through the Q&A. So as we get to the point that we think we can make a priming device or a powder handling device that we can do really well and improves on what exists in the market, we'll do it. But until then, we won't. And as you'll see as we go through 14 questions here about when will this item be in stock, we continue to invest heavily, and we're making so many more parts than we ever have. So, we'll make what we can make with the idea that we want things to actually exist and be in stock. SG pulse mount, yes, in process. Expect that sooner rather than later. 6 arc dies along with 22 arc, yes, in process. Seating dies, that's going to be a later, not a sooner. They're pretty good seating dies on the market. We know that we need to make them. It'll probably be an S series. I don't know that there's a lot of need for an M series in that, because you can. The reason for the M series to be so big is you needed the hoop strength against sizing, that you had basically a full 7/8 body and then something inside it. You don't need that in a seating die, so you'll likely see that in an S series at some point, but don't expect it tomorrow. Any plans for making an end cap for suppressors that you can remove the end caps just like the Maverick? Not something we're actively working on. There's somebody else doing it. I think I've seen those float around. It looks like a pretty solid product. The major issue that I've got with those is if a suppressor is doing a good job of being a suppressor and you put a muzzle brake on the end of it, the muzzle brake is not going to have the volume and the pressure and the speed of gas required to do its job well. And these two things are at odds with one another. It's why the Maverick's kind of loud. You need a lot of gas to make a muzzle brake work the way that you want it to. Now, just putting an extra several ounces of steel in a brake way out on the end of your rifle is obviously going to feel like there's some effect. And there can be some effect that these muzzle brakes have, but a really good make it quiet suppressor behind a muzzle brake is going to keep that muzzle brake from working the way that muzzle brakes want to. So it's not something we're actively working on making. Will shell holders be back in stock today? Probably not.
They are at Nitride.
Okay.
Just one single piece. The Magnum shell holder is holding up the entire kit. But yes, so those are at Nitride, and I don't know when they ship back. So they should be back next week.
20 MOA cantilever mounts back in stock. When? As soon as possible. We are in the middle of a 22-day straight run on one-piece mounts on one of the Grobes. And guys, that's not 22 days and
One
then business
shift
days.
yeah.
No, this is 22 times 24 hours of direct run on Op 1, the major op of one-piece scope mounts. And that's only going to get more aggressive as we get some items off of the Grobes onto the DMP or off of the Grobes and into 4-axis. And we've got a machining Monday or a fixture Friday, so maybe both next week, coming on a cool new fixture and process we have going on those that'll help more things be in stock. Any plans on making scope mounts with more than 20 MOA? Plausibly, but not sooner. That's a later. Just like nobody asked it, but I'll go ahead and answer it. FDE. So if you want an FDE scope mount, sure, maybe, but don't hold your breath. Considered making a rifle chassis system. Considered, played around with some, sure, maybe, but again, if we don't think we can meaningfully improve or keep it in stock, we're not going to do it. And that's where that one is. Any push into new suppressors?
I will say, production-wise, there's 250 of them being made right now.
Mavericks?
Mavericks, yes. So
And then into new suppressors? Yeah, probably. We have that discussion relatively frequently. It's awesome that you can go buy one right now, Form 4.1, and what's Form 4 running? 2 to 3 days. They're, for the first time since like 1935, the government's doing something appropriately. So kudos to interim. Is he still interim head of the ATF, Cash?
didn't they
Or-
put some?
Or no, you got pulled away.
He got pulled away. They put somebody else in there. Yeah.
Like most
Like
government
last week,
agencies, if nobody's running them and they're not doing anything, the world's better for it. But this is something the ATF's doing well, so not bad. We'd rather abolish the ATF and get rid of the stamps, but baby steps. This is a big one. What beard product does Justin use?
So I use Johnny Slicks. It's a veteran-owned company, all made in the USA, all organic product on both my hair and my beard.
Powder cup for Matchmaster. Yeah, at some point when they went from the old Chargemaster 1500 to the new Chargemaster Lite and Matchmaster, they changed the way that the receptacle works in the bottom. And at the time, we never really got it quite right, and haven't focused on it. Being truthful, so yeah, probably. I don't know when that'll be, but it won't be today. But it's not going to be never. Anything new for the CZ457 coming? I don't know. What should we make for it? We're continually working on more pre-fit barrels from both Proof and Lilja. We've got the scope bases in 15, 30, and 50 MOA. We've obviously got the bolt knobs that do exceptionally well. But if there's something new we need to make for the 457, let us know. We're down. Taller one-piece mounts. I'm assuming somebody wants like a 193. Not tomorrow, but not never. That's a yes, but later type deal. M5 bottom metal, probably not. That we could make that, but I'm not sure that it's more important than some of the other things we've talked about getting done. And then bottom grooves on Arcalock like Arlock or Delta Lock. I don't think we're probably going to start making Arcalock rails with other brand features in them. So no, if there's something I missed on like the grooves or whatever, I missed something. But guys, we've had over 200 people tuned into this for most of the stream. That's awesome. That's more than we've ever had in a 419-day stream. The website, I haven't been on it obviously in about an hour and 6 minutes. But if it's been slow for you, stay patient. I don't believe at any time it's fully crashed. We're not losing orders. Orders were coming through the last I checked. So stay engaged. We have more blims that will be stocked throughout the day, so there's not some huge premium on hitting refresh over and over. But check out a Zero Gen 2. I think Sarah's put the link for that, as well as Task, as well as the cable management, as well as the Arcalock guards. I'm assuming all of those links are in the chat. If they're not, check your email over the next day and a half, 2 days, 3 days. You'll get a fair number of emails from us. You can go to, hey, Sarah, what's the code for free shipping? Type it up real quick. We've got free shipping on anything, on any order over $50 on the site right now. And you can get there using code. Either Sarah's going to give it to me or Bryce is going to put it on the screen.
Type it onto our screen.
Yeah. So we'll get it in the chat. We've got free shipping going on the site for anything over $50. Obviously the blim sale's there. Guys, check out what you need. Yeah, there we go. There we go. 419 free ship 25. Use that and you get free shipping on anything. Domestic, US only. If you live in some lesser nation, that's on you. Maybe come here. But yeah, guys, we appreciate it. That's going to be the end of our stream here. Justin, got anything else?
Just want to say thanks to all of you out there. Everyone in the shop here is very proud of what we produce and make, and we can only do this because of you. So I just want to say thank you to all of our customers.
Absolutely, guys. So if you got anything else, drop it in comments. Find another one of our posts, comment on that on a video. Go watch the new videos. If you haven't watched the series that we did on kind of the history of the Zero in the 5 years, shocking. Yeah. Since that thing came out, give them a look. It's an interesting perspective into what that was like and what the time since has been like. And we're going to keep manufacturing in America with American raw materials and American work right here. We're in Northwest Ohio. Stuff's happening. There's a door 9 feet to my left in that direction. And right outside it, there are machines. We've actually got a huge amount of soundproofing going in the studio so that you can't just only hear the drone in the background of spindles and in aluminum being ripped away. But we're going to keep doing it here, and we can only do it because of you guys and the way that you support us and the way that you use the product. So, guys, that's the end of the 419-day live stream. We appreciate you, and we'll see you again really soon.
Thanks a lot.